Thanks, everybody. Thanks, President, for putting this on today. We appreciate it. Again, my name is Paul Yankee. This is Dave Horton with Green Building Consulting. Our name's pretty easy to figure out what we do, but the one line sentence is we are a Green Building Consulting, Education, and Verification firm. So anything that has to do with buildings that in the green energy efficiency, or we'll talk about today, high performance, the new watchword, we do and try to help with. We're an independent third party, so we don't build, we don't design, we don't sell product. So we are a help to the design team, the project team, build developers. We're in 13 states. We have projects everywhere over from Iowa and St. Louis to the coast of Jersey, down to Nashville, and up to Michigan. We get to see a lot of the up-and-coming items through the country because of that, but we're based out of Cincinnati, and my mom is actually the person who was crazy enough to start this company back in 2000, and we've been growing ever since. Dave, you want to introduce yourself?
I don't need the microphone. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I'm Dave Horton. I'm the operations manager for Paul and Barb at Green Building Consulting. They took me from being a stubborn old carpenter to someone who's much more open-minded about sustainability and durability and things like that. That's all. We'll get more into it. Yeah.
All right. So I want to start with the term high-performance homes. So that's our brand today, because that is, as most things in Cincinnati, something that's coming, and we get to see it, but we get to see it kind of a little bit earlier. It's the beauty of doing business in Cincinnati, right? We don't have to be that innovative sometimes. We just have to look to our regional neighbors and sometimes a little bit further to figure out what's coming. Again, being in 13 states and having basically a network that we use across the country, the watchwords here of energy efficiency is kind of our first iteration. Green, as we all know, of course, it's in our name. Now high performance. These are different versions of the same thing. Overall, a building that performs. And what's happening now, and got a lot of stats, you'll see high performance is starting to really hit with clients, because that's something that the homeowner wants. They want their building to do more, and they're asking for more. And a lot of the programs we're going to talk about today, it's exactly what they do, is they prove that the building does. Allison Bales is one of our building science gurus that we like to quote a lot. He gave a good definition of it, effectively talking about the pure science. Good building enclosure. It's airtight, it's insulated well, has properly sized installed conditions, heating and cooling. Because it's tight, it also has mechanical ventilation, results in a home that is comfortable, healthy, durable, and energy efficient. That's the standard. We're getting, though, from the homeowners a few other interpretations. Energy efficiency, that's easy. We're not selling energy efficiency right now in our buildings, then we're missing the boat. Everybody wants that, of course. Who doesn't want a lower bill? But water efficiency, indoor air quality, durability, technology is a big deal right now. Everything from smart homes, smart grid, you're dealing with programmable thermostats. You've got rain sensors on irrigation systems. You have solar sensors on lighting. Anything that can be automated is hot right now. I know a number of builders, and there's a couple in this room, that put nests on a lot of the house now. That is a huge marketing piece. Homeowners love those things. They don't know how to use them initially, right? But they do it for you, right? They learn for you. These are things that help sell houses, and what our job is to do is to make sure they can use them. The facts. High performance and or green and or energy efficient. We'll put them all together. My job in the marketplace, a lot of times, because of my background, I'm actually an ex-financial planner and small business consultant. So I do a lot of work with municipalities, builders, developers, anybody that wants to look at the ROI of green, and we'll talk a little bit later about the incentives of green as well. And what happens is we want numbers, right? Before we make a big decision on what we're going to do to change the way we're going to build, or maybe even incentivize, in some cases, building, we want to make sure that people believe in this. And so the last couple of years have been huge for getting actual studies, facts, everything else from the consumer on what they want. We have articles from the Washington Post, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, everybody talking about green homes. I've got literally an entire Dropbox folder of probably 50 articles. They just come in about once a month, and I just hold on to them. We use them for all kinds of different things. The Home Builder Association found that Energy Star appliances and Energy Star Food for homes are ranked very important. Love these studies they do. Top features, they rank in the 94 and 91 percentile of most home features. They're in the top 5. They have been for years, by the way. Energy Star is the most recognizable brand in America. Still amazes me what that is. But UCLA study did a value of green labels. This is where we go back to watching what happens in the markets. We start with the coasts, right? We go to East and West Coast, figure out what they do, and it's timing. How long is it going to take to get from California to here? You think of a million things that have taken that long, right? Some things take 20 years, some things take 5. It just depends. They're showing right now, I actually met the guy that did this study, a 9% premium for green labeled houses. That's Energy Star, Lee, we'll talk about a few of those. 9% premium. It's consistent. They even backed out a lot of little effects like what they call the Prius effect. So just because you have a Prius in the driveway, you probably are a little more sustainable minded. They took those people out of the equation and then tried to get it directly to neighborhood to neighborhood, so you didn't have overlapping neighborhoods. They did a really good job of regressing out the items, but it's still California. So guess what? It keeps getting closer. North Carolina did a study. They were finding a $5,500 premium for new homes that were done Energy Star, 90 days sooner on average. This was, I think, in 2011, I believe, was that study. Institute for Market for Transformation, they did a DC study that just came out, and they were showing a 23% higher than non-high performance homes. It's an okay study. They actually didn't back out neighborhoods, so they get into the details of this stuff. They just did one in Atlanta, they just did one in Chicago, and I think we're going to get one in Nashville all in the next year. So, and the numbers keep coming up. We're looking at about a 3 to 9% premium is where we're seeing these numbers. And the quicker sale ratio can give you a lot of anecdotal data here in Cincinnati, where our builders that have done these homes are moving much faster than the homes they did prior. Yeah. Important, very important. This is on a remodel as well. Don't forget that. This is a big deal. Home buyer seller profile that the National Association of Realtors put out. 87% said heating and cooling costs were important, very important. Another North Carolina study, this is one I like. Bankers in the room will like this. So 32%. Study came out last year, it was a big deal, that 32% lower default ratio for energy efficiency homes. Now, how happy do you think your bankers are knowing that? So they want to, if anybody's heard of an energy efficient mortgage, probably not going to get many hands here. It's not, yeah, exactly. It hasn't been marketed the best, but it's out there. This is already, a number of national banks are starting to market the product that's already been on the shelves, but hasn't been out there because of this. Entire portfolio, I'm an ex-banker, so I'm allowed to say this. Your entire portfolio of loans are based on loan rates, and you put everything in packages. These homes just went up in the package. You're going to look at some legislation coming out pretty soon, that might allow for some of this default ratio and some of the lower costs, like lower utility costs, to be factored into the mortgage, which allows the buyer to buy more house. It's a good idea. This is a big deal for the banks, which then makes a big deal for residents. And then the satisfaction gap. This is one that just came out. If you've ever seen these studies, so it's Demand Institute and HBA helps out with this. It's what people want, but they don't have. So they give a top 10 list of the difference between what's in their house and what they really always wanted. Number 1 on the list is energy efficiency by a pretty good margin. So a 36% gap between the person's average house, what they have, and what they want. And what I always like is renovation ready, number 2, kitchens and finishes. So it goes down to 3. We all want a better kitchen. I know my wife always does. So I know this is a big deal. Energy efficiency crushes it. It's number 1. It has been for a number of years, but the gap keeps getting bigger. I'll turn it over to Dave to get in details.
Yeah, you do. They're recording it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Just keep it around.
Keep it up close.
All right.
So right out of the gate, I'm giving everybody a pop quiz. Who can tell me which one of these homes is high performance, or which 2, 3, or 4 of these homes is high performance? Take your time.
All of them.
Any ideas? Which one? This one? Right,
Yeah.
anybody else?
All of them.
Bottom one? Could be all of them. That's a great point. That's kind of the whole point is you can't really tell by looking at a home if it's high performance or not. As Paul talked about, one of the definitions that Allison Bales gives is commissioning. We didn't touch too much on it yet, but commissioning or performance testing is really important for a high performance home. If you look at one of these homes, you know, how do you know how well the HVAC system performs in here? You know if it's, 92% or 96% gas furnace, if it says it on the label, you don't know if it's really performing that way. You don't know how bad the ducts leak or how bad the envelope leaks. You don't know necessarily if there are any thermal bridging issues on any of these homes. You look at them, they look very similar. And what you'll find is that the lower of those 4 actually had low duct leakage, low blower door, and was well or accurately ventilated. The higher had high duct leakage, high blower door, and while it was ventilated, it was much over-ventilated. And then you see this bottom text we're talking about, which is the HERS index. If those of you, if anyone's not familiar with the HERS index by now, it's sort of like a miles per gallon sticker for a home. A home with a score of 0 is a home that uses 0 energy on an annual basis. A home that uses 100, or a home with a score of 100, is built exactly to the 2006 energy code. So as you can see, the lower the score, the better. One of the worst ones was a HERS index of 82, and what you'll find is that a home built to the 2009 energy code, which is what we're under now, is about a 90, right, Paul? So that's, barely passing code, which is the minimum allowed by law. HERS index of 51 is, just about 50% better than the 2006 energy code, but, about, 40% better than the 2009 energy code. So that's a really, really good home. The trick is, one of these performed well, one didn't. One performed well, one didn't. So just by the design of a home, or by the look of the home, or anything you see externally, any aesthetic thing, you don't necessarily know, at least right out of the gate, whether or not it's a high-performing home. You may later see durability problems related to some of the performance issues like air infiltration, but you won't necessarily know by just walking up and looking at a home and knowing if it's high performance. The key for the builders in the room is your competitors can present what looks like the same product that you have that performs much more poorly than your product. And the key is the performance test. Talking a little bit about energy code. This is the energy code that we're under now, which does have a few variations and a few options. As we know, we have the Ohio Builders Association path we can use. There's a UA trade-off path we can use. It's all based on the 2009 energy code. Kentucky and Indiana are also under very similar energy codes. It's all based on 2009 energy code. What we know about that is, while this is an advancement from what we've been under, it's still the minimum allowed by law. So just saying, hey, yeah, we passed code, we're doing great, we got a pass. A pass sounds great, right? But a pass is really just a D minus. A D minus passes. So we're not looking for D minus, we're looking for A plus, right? Or even an A, D plus, not a D minus. So that's where high performance comes in. High performance, we're looking at A plus homes, not D minus. So again, talking about, the 3 local areas, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, all the requirements are very similar on paper with a few variations. Do we have any building inspectors in the room? None. Interesting. So, as I'm sure the builders will tell you that are in the room, enforcement varies between building departments. Forget about state to state, even though it's supposed to be the same from Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. We're all supposed to be under 2009 Energy Code. You have 2 neighboring municipalities that have a completely different interpretation of, what the requirements of energy code are. Now, the truth is, there's supposed to be a lot of performance testing going on, but some building departments aren't familiar with, what exactly that means. So, they'll depend on companies like ours that do performance testing on homes. They get a sticker, that's great. Sometimes they'll give a sticker, the sticker doesn't say it passes, it just has a number, and they look at it, they say it passes. Others, there's a sticker that clearly says it passes, and they say they want more. I mean, it's pretty much a crapshoot. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Maybe you're gonna address this later, I don't know, but there's so many different classifications. There's league certification, there's, I think it's 5-star efficiency. It depends on who's marketing what. So, and now I'm hearing about another one here. So the IECC. So can you distinguish the difference between these and what they are and how do they relate to us?
Great, when we set this up. didn't we?
Absolutely. This guy's a plan. So, yeah, so 2009 Energy Code is what we're under by law. Those other green building certification programs he's referencing are optional programs with some small exceptions you'll find in municipalities that Paul will reference later. An example is, Cleveland has a green building standard where incentives are in place. Other municipalities, based on sometimes square footage or dollar amount, you're forced to follow some form of a green standard. But this is, what Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana are under in some form by law. This is what the building department expects to see. They don't necessarily care about, LEED, Energy Star, Passive House, National Green Building Standard, or any of these other things, or the HERS Index for that matter. However, being a little bit forward-thinking, the HERS Index is actually built into the 2015 Energy Code as a pathway. So rather than just having someone who's a HERS rater do the performance testing, the duct leakage testing, the ventilation testing, the blower door testing, actually just spitting out this 1, 2, or 3-digit number that's the HERS Index, that's the miles per gallon sticker for the home. That will actually be a set pathway in the 2015 Energy Code whenever it gets adopted. And I could be wrong about this, but I had a conversation with one of the guys from the building department here at the last presentation we were at. I think he said they're going to review it again for Ohio in 2018. So being it's going to be 2018, they may skip over the 2012 version and go straight to 2015. So be looking for the HERS Index as a very clear pathway to be able to verify that you passed the building code. Now getting into some of the green certification programs or high performance programs. The most recognizable is definitely Energy Star. This is one of the most recognized brands in the entire world. It's definitely that way for homes. Many builders in here may have built to Energy Star before. It's sort of fallen back a little bit. However, they just came out with a new revision that, oddly enough, makes it much, much easier. So some of the paperwork intensive problems that were associated with Energy Star and some of the collaboration that was required that made things just, a little bit, some of it was redundant, some of it was just a pain. They've taken a lot of that away to where a lot of the performance requirements are the same, but a lot of the paperwork heavy requirements are not. So Energy Star is definitely very recognizable, does require performance testing and HERS rating, or HERS rater to do it. There are commercial programs available, and any more information you need, you can find at EnergyStar.gov. But most people are familiar with Energy Star. LEED, on the other hand, is a little bit different. LEED is very popular. This is a program supported by the U.S. Green Building Council. There are several different rating systems associated with LEED. The one that we are focused on mainly is LEED for Homes. That's the residential rating system. So the difference between LEED for Homes and some other green building programs or even other LEED rating systems is the requirement for third-party performance testing, which is what we do. So in order to get certification, you have to have someone who's not really financially invested in the building or the building's success come do the verification on the building. Come say, yes, your duct leakage was in acceptable compliance. Yes, you did the water efficiency measures you said you were going to do, rather than someone who stands to gain a whole lot saying, of course we did, and just go by the honor system. So that's one of the great things that adds credibility to the LEED grading system.
But isn't there more to LEED than just energy efficiency?
Oh, that's a great question. I want to save a little bit for Paul, but yeah, that's a difference. Now, I'll compare LEED to, we'll come back with green building standard. I'll compare LEED with Passive House, for example. So while Passive House is narrowly focused on energy, you talk about some of the craziest stuff you can do, the craziest air tightness that you've ever heard of. It does require third-party performance testing from HERS raters, like we were talking about for other green building programs. might build with an R13 wall and R38 attic. This might require, R60 throughout the entire envelope, or maybe, R100 in the attic, in addition to the tightest building you've ever probably seen. So, and it is achievable. We're working on several projects that, are submitting for certification right now. So all of the testing's been done. This is an achievable standard, but this is, the top 1% of high performance as compared to some other programs. While LEED focuses on energy, but it focuses on multiple other things. It focuses on water efficiency, focuses very heavily on durability, which Passive House also does. But that's one of the things that sort of gets forgotten about. It's all these things related to interior moisture, exterior moisture, pest control. There's all these different durability risks associated with a building that programs like LEED and the National Green Building Standard focus on. So thank you for saying that. It is much, much more than just energy efficiency. National Green
Is that
Building.
where you get in? Part
Go
of
ahead,
it.
Tim.
There's different levels of leads. There's silver, gold, and platinum, or something like that.
That's right.
Is that part of it? The different what you're focusing on?
That's exactly right. And while I'm trying to save this for Paul, I don't want to get too much into it, but there's 4 certification levels for any kind of LEED rating system: certified, silver, gold, and platinum, as you said. And the interesting thing, this is a little teaser, in the city of Cincinnati, they actually have a really robust tax abatement for some projects as much as 15 years, complete unlimited tax abatement on the dollar amount. But it is associated with the certification level. And I'll let Paul cover the rest of that in a couple minutes. Again, Passive House. In my opinion, this is the most superior. Yeah. So the National Green Building Standard is very similar to LEED. It has very similar, robust requirements across all types of construction. So we're talking water, we're talking landscaping, we're talking even as much as awareness and education, just promoting green building, get rewarded for it. Unfortunately, it just is not as popular as LEED, and it doesn't even have certification fees. So I don't understand why it's not as popular. I guess LEED has charged certification fees, taken that money and spun it into more promotion. So more people are pursuing LEED certification, but the requirements are very similar, if not identical, down to a certain degree. So I would love to see more projects supporting those.
And regionally, we do have some regions that took off. North Carolina, Virginia. Actually, we're about to get our first multifamily in Cincinnati. It's going to be our GBS. So it is coming, and you're seeing some areas where NGBS is higher, but overall, LEED for homes, that program took off faster. It's a full green program. I think they had, forgive the pun, they had the lead on it because you had LEED commercials been around for about 20 years. The homes version came out in 2007, and GBS came out in 2008, so they had a little head start on the market. So that's why I think we see it.
Yeah, I think we will see more of that, but we need our partners, in NAHB to, I don't know if it's promoting it more or what the problem is, but we need to see more of those. Passive House, very robust, super energy efficient. Talk about HER scores. You can get HER scores down in the 20s and in the teens without even doing renewable energy. For those that understand what that means, you can imagine that with building envelopes with R60 walls versus R13. I think it's pretty straightforward. I love working on these projects. Here are some other green building certification programs you may or may not have heard of. There's a whole host of them. Living Building Challenge is one that just got added to the LEED tax abatement in Cincinnati. Enterprise Green Communities is very similar to LEED and the National Green Building Standard. The difference is it's focused on low-income housing with very similar requirements. And I'm sure you've heard of some of these, maybe not the others, but a whole slew of programs. And now, talking about tax credits and rebates and things of that, they go back to one.
Sure. I'll start there.
Yep. I'll hand it over to Tom.
All right, so first of all, I like using this, and we could have went further. Just at some point, we just can't read it. There's a lot of, listen to your point, there's a lot of green programs, right? This is just a start. I go to California, probably did this many in California. So the end result is a race, I think, a lot of times.
LEED is out in front on the full green programs. Energy Star is way out in front from an energy program, because they just started, frankly, earlier. There's a couple million homes now that have Energy Star ratings, to give you an idea. Now, Energy Star and the HERS rating's on every Energy Star home, so that means there's a couple million homes with HERS ratings. That's good. By the way, the HERS rating's on almost all of these programs. Not all, but darn close. So that means there's a score they can compare to, which is nice. We all like to compete. This is a good way to do it. But a lot of these programs I say this, some come and go, some stay very regional. Eco Select sits in Virginia and can't get out of there. Earthcraft, that's the Atlanta one, right? That's the Atlanta. Earth Advantage is out in Portland. So I say this, you would have heard of one, you wonder why one's over another. Pay attention to your region, and pay attention to professionals in your region that can kind of give you some guidance on where the marketplace is. That's why I use all these studies. We don't tend to know anything. We just tend to, we're the conglomerators of all this data, and we get all this. And from our hundreds of builders that we deal with, we get a lot of their information, right? They tell us what works, what doesn't in different areas. It doesn't hurt when you get incentives, right? There's a carrot and a stick theory, right? So the stick is code. We have to do it. That's our minimum allowed by law. Fine, code's going to move. Code's going to always move. It's at what rate? In Maryland, they have 2012 energy code. Trust me, it's a significant chunk more than what we're doing now, and they've already early adopted 2015. Yeah, they always do, right?
Always enough.
Ever, right? So, and they're not alone. Virginia's about to do the same, and there's a couple others. So, keeping this in mind, everyone's on different pathways. Incentives tend to work better than the stick, to be quite honest. And they don't have to be crazy. Some are. What we found, there's a grad student here in Cincinnati, and she worked with the Real Estate Center. You guys know the Real Estate Center for UC. Dr. Bond, who runs that. Him and Avis Devine, she was a grad student. They did a study. It was an awesome study. It's published. They don't get enough press for it, so I'm always pushing it out there. But it's the benefits of incentives, green incentives, nationally. They took a ton of over the nation, figured out what works and what doesn't. Boiled down, God love these studies, right? They're 150 pages. The summary is pretty simple. Little tiny incentives don't work. It's not worth the time, the energy for the municipality, for the builders. It rarely moves the market. Big incentives work a lot. And that's the one. So why spend all this time creating these little bitty incentives? We've got cities, I think Pittsburgh's one, that in LEED, they give you a rebate if you do LEED, or no, if you do any LEED, they give you a rebate on your fee. The fee's $200. I don't even think they give you the whole fee. I think they give you like $100 back. And so, and I think on a multifamily you get a little bit more, but you can imagine it's like a $10 million project. I think they give you $1,000. Does that move the bar? What's the point? That spent way more than that time someone writing it. On the flip side, you have kind of the couple biggest ones are New Mexico had a tax credit, which was insane, but had to be funded. Here's the key. Tax credits have to be funded. There has to be a pool of money. That's a limited pool of money. And once that pool of money runs out, money's gone. But they had a huge tax credit where it was thousands of dollars. It was all based on your square footage. And they went nuts. I've got one of our patriots that are out there busier than they could be because it just went crazy. However, last year it ran out of money. So it had been going for about 4 or 5 years. They were on the same pace that we were with our tax abatement. The difference is the tax abatement doesn't need to get funded. There's a pool of money going away. Just to incentivize differently. So we'll talk about that in a second. The other ones are utility rebates. We all know this. If we do a hot water heater, Duke might give us something, right? If it's an efficient one. They might give us some free bulbs sometimes. Duke's the worst, by the way, nationally. A lot of go to Kentucky, they have phenomenal rebates on utilities. Go to Pennsylvania, they're way better.
Central Ohio.
Even Central Ohio is way better. So Duke, we're just so lucky we have Duke right here owning us in Cincinnati. I tell them this to their face. They're awesome. So utility rebates, but they're out there. There are some rebates, and every one of the homeowners should know this. Go get their money. Not a lot of rebates for the builders on that end. some, but not,
But the traffic come and go.
they come and go. I'll tell you a good one that I get good news on, literally what, yesterday? Was it yesterday I said? So, well, it's potential good news. Tax credit, so there's a builder, who knows that there's a builder tax credit for being energy, for building energy efficient? This goes to the builder, $2,000 per house. I got one hand. All right, it is 50% better than the 2000, if the heating and cooling costs have to be 50% better than the 2006 energy code. It has to be pretty efficient.
So what, the earth rating, 50?
It's a good question. It could be 60 on some houses, could be 50 on others. I think we've seen some a hair lower than that, and I think we've seen some even a hair higher than 60 hit it. But here's the problem: they keep going retroactive on funding it. This is my problem with tax credits. So the last 3 years in a row, builders had to hope that it was going to happen, if they were going to build that way, and then hope that it got passed a year later. They passed the legislation of Congress, say, yes, I'm going to give you tax credits for the houses you built last year. So if you're a builder, how do you plan for that? How do you figure if that's a good idea? I'm going to factor this in my budget. How in the world is that going to make sense? I know this sounds crazy, but it sounds like our lobbyists that are up in DC sound like there's a very, very good chance that they're going to extend it, and this time through 2017. Insane. We've been talking logic for years on this. So that's a big deal. $2,000 can pay for a lot of these incentives, especially as production builders. You guys can get those costs down to nothing. You already know those codes coming. There's efficiencies when you can plan. If you can't, it's not good. If anybody wants to see what other ones are out there, DesireUSA.org, make sure you type in that. There's bad connotations if you type in slightly different. Go to that one. You can see every incentive, every green incentive that's in the country, by state, by locality, what's out there, even your utility rebates. So it's a great place to go. All right, let me talk about my fun one, the tax abatement. So Cincinnati was nuts when they did this. I don't know why. I still can't figure out. There's a couple crazy people that all of a sudden jumped out in front and said it was a good idea. We try to, nationally, I talk about this, and everyone's like, wow, I want to do that. I want to try to recreate it. Who was the forward thinker? I tell them we just got lucky. I think it was the right time, right place. We do not think of Cincinnati as being forward thinking in some of these kind of ideas, but it's paid off for them. They put in a tax abatement program. It's based on a 1974 law, the Community Reinvestment Act. Different than the Banking Community Reinvestment Act, by the way. It's named exactly the same. Well, it's Community Reinvestment Area Act. In this case, it's Community Reinvestment Act for banking. And actually, they were both enacted the same year, which was really odd. So 1974. It means that in the states that did this, we did it. New York's got one. Virginia's got one. Maryland's got one. Arizona, maybe. So not too many. This law is in place. That means any locality in the state can write a tax abatement program for whatever they want. They can pick. Cincinnati did one close to 20 years ago. It's been that long. So 20 years ago, they decided to write a tax abatement program that says if you build within the city limits, here's the crazy part for the city, they did it in all 52 neighborhoods. So it was the entire city limits. That's the unusual part back then. If you build in the city, we will abate your property taxes of the approved value, right? Not the land. So they're keeping what they already were getting. They're not losing anything, right? And at that time, they really weren't losing anything. Nobody was building in the city. I've got builders that tell me the average cost still, and it has been this way for a while, sometimes is an extra $25,000, $30,000 sometimes, just to build in Cincinnati. That's your starting price over building right outside the city. So you got to make that up. The city's not producing the cost. So this was a way to get people to come in and start building in the city. And crazy thought, it worked. Yeah, we got a lot of macro environment type of items too. Urban living, gas prices went up for a while, so people wanted to get closer to their jobs. There's a lot of things that forced this, but we have had birth rates way higher than comparable cities in the region. And this is one of the reasons why. We also have a city income tax. That's exactly right. So they weren't giving up everything, were they? They were gaining a lot. So what happens is, and I want to make sure that everyone gets this, because I don't ever want to talk intelligently when someone says, why in the world did they do this? And I can't stress this enough, how important this is, because I have a number of other municipalities trying to replicate this. And you guys, builders, should try to help them. We'll show you how to make that work. But in the tax abatement program, they do not give away money. The money is there the incentive is an abatement of money that's going to be approved. So you were going to pay on what was already there. Second, it's only a portion. So on the commercial tax abatement, I'll go to that first. The commercial tax abatement quickly is for only 75% of the improved value. So take the Queen City building, what is that, $100 million project, whatever that is. Immediately, Hampton County, and then thus the city gets a portion of that, got it an upgrade immediately. So you got 25% of that improved value right off the bat. And they'll tell you, Western Southern will tell you that we wouldn't have done this project without a tax abatement here. So that's a lot of money. And that's the money that goes to schools. So we hear that, oh, the schools are losing money. No, they're not. The commercial program funds the residential side. Okay, so they're only giving away 75%. That 25% goes to schools. It pays it all. And there's lots of commercial projects going under this. All our multifamily projects go under this. If it's 4 units or more, we have tons of them. So don't worry about the schools. They're getting way more money than they ever would have gotten if this program wasn't in place. The residential one, this is for 1, 2, and 3 units. It's simple. If you just build in the city, new construction, no lead, yeah. You get 10 years, you get 100% abatement up to $275,000 of the improved value. If you do a remodel, same thing. It's one of the weaknesses in our program, actually. We can't give more incentive for remodels. It's harder. Quite frankly, we're not doing very well in this part. Other cities are doing a little better. This is where the fun part comes in. If you will go lead for homes, which, as we told you, was an advanced program, so there's extra cost, there's some extra work to be done. You'll talk to the builders that have done this, it's not that bad. And it's a cut and dry process. You can get the number down to a number, and it's easily paid for. It goes to 15 years, you add 5 more years on the tax abatement, and the dollar amounts go up. So this is where certified gives you $275,000 still. If you go silver, you get up to $400,000 in improved value abated. Gold is $562,000, and platinum is no cap. But I just want to give a number to that. Silver is the most common. A lot of our builders can get to silver pretty easily. Not a big stretch. So let's say you get to silver, $400,000 of abated value. You got a $500,000 house, your lot was $100,000, $400,000 is abated. That means you're still paying on the $100,000, but you're not paying on the $400,000. $400,000, rough number for you guys to use is 2%. The city of Cincinnati. It's 2.1 to about 2.3. Just use 2%. That's $8,000 a year in savings per 100,000. So, I'm sorry, $8,000 a year in savings on 400,000. So you're looking at $120,000 a year, guaranteed, or $120,000 over the 15 years, guaranteed by the city of Cincinnati. Do you think buyers put that in the value of their house? Of course, it's cash. I'm a financial planner. I love guarantees by municipalities. That's my favorite thing in the world. They're backing it. So $120,000 guaranteed. So you can see if you build in the city, you want to look at this as an option. Buyers are paying premiums, they're paying faster. We now have a number of neighborhoods where even in OTR, we had historic rehabs. The rehabs were a little harder. There's a few bidders who didn't do it, a few that did. They're skipping the ones that didn't. They're going low. They're still selling. They're not selling as fast. They're sitting on the market, which nothing in OTR sits in the market more than 7 days. Some of those are sitting for 30, 60 days.
Does that change the value of the house because it appreciates? Does that value change?
Great question. They got rid of that. The first version did have a ramp up for inflation. They did not. The cap stays the same now for the time. So if your value goes past that mark, then that part gets you pay taxes on it. So a good incentive to maybe go a little further than what you thought maybe.
Here's things going to be to see what happens with some of the stuff along the river. It's maintenance about to expire.
Yeah, so abatements do expire. My house, I just had one over the Rhine. I'm out of it. It's paying 5 times what it was worth 10 years ago. So, the city's making their money on that. Like, yeah.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but do you know if the national appraisal standards have been revised to reflect a higher value for green buildings?
Great question. It's coming. Tight team is up. I got it, so I know I'm short on time. I want you guys to look in your packets. Should be the last page, I believe. So this is, again, some current information. I like delivering good news. Yep, last page. This just got approved. I've been working on it for a year and a half. I'm the chairperson, actually just gave up chairpersonship for U.S. Green Building Council, the residential committee. So for the last 2 years, we've been working on this. If you don't like it, you can blame most of it. This we wrote. This is the addendum that's going to now be able to be put on the MLS for people that make energy efficiency and green upgrades to their house. There will be one searchable field. Searchable field will be, I think it's on the page prior to what it'll look like for realtors. There'll be one searchable field, green energy efficient features, yes or no. So if you're an MLS agent, you get a guy come in and says, I want to know if this thing is energy efficiency or energy efficient or not. If the realtor checked yes or no when they did the uplisting of the listing, this can be searched for. You find all the houses that actually uploaded this addendum. If you guys build houses or contracts, you need to make sure when you do anything that's an upgrade that's on this list, it needs to go to the homeowner so they can do this. What happens is, until they get this data, appraisers can't figure out what the cost is and the value. So in other markets, all those premium numbers I gave you, they have that data. They have multiple years. Chicago showed us how to do it. Chicago's on their 4th iteration of this in the MLS. They have phenomenal data. So their appraisers have been pulling this down for a few years and figuring out what a solar hot water system costs, what geothermal should be an upgrade, what upgraded insulation, go to 2x6 walls, what does that mean? All of that now is actually metadata. They can pull it down and get a number. But we couldn't do it until we did this. So this is phase 1. It is approved. This goes live August 5th. So on August 5th, we'll actually have this ability. It needs to start getting uploaded. In about a year or two, then the appraisers will have enough data to start giving value